Welcome to the Zen Brain Podcast,
where we explore alternatives to psychiatric medication and strategies for conscious lifestyle change. Here's your host and philosophical entertainer, Michael Pierce.
Michael Pierce.
Welcome back to the Zen Brain Podcast. Now, if you're anything like me, you've probably scoured a lot of information about success or self-improvement and all of the different things out there that have been given to us or peddled to us or sold to us or whatever. Because we want to get something more out of life. We want success. And success is one of those funny words that can really be different based on where you're coming from. It's subjective, and it should be subjective based on what you want. But there is one principle that seems to pull in what we may call success quicker than about anything. And it also seems to be one of the end-all, be-all states of consciousness in the spiritual realms, or this, what we're seeking for spiritually. And what that principle is gratitude. If we learn how to be thankful for everything in our lives, then the premise is that will then change the future. My mother used to say, once you get something, you need to say thank you. Now, naturally, there's more to it than that, and my mother was merely half correct. However, at any rate, she was on the correct course. Now, hold off for a minute, you may say. I break my back on the business, trying to be successful in life, and I've got this crocked back to prove it or whatever, and I'm supposed to be saying thank you to that? Now, come on, right? Especially when you've really got a difficult situation, being grateful for your scenarios, it seems impossible. But anyway, we don't live in an existence of some kind of random or accidental or luck, as a lot of people may think. We live in a world that operates by certain laws, predictable, repeatable, perceivable laws, and there is a law of gratitude and appreciation. And if you're to get the result you're looking for, it's utterly essential that you should abide by this law, and you'll see what I mean as we move forward. Now, so what is the law of gratitude and appreciation? How does it function? It's a practice of the law of cause and effect. The law of gratitude and appreciation is the innate principle that action and response are forever equal and in opposing directions. Here's what this entails. We understand that everything we place attention and emotional energy on, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, will one of these days show up and unfold and come out in our lives. And the universe, or whatever you want to call it, our subconscious, it doesn't recognize a good thing from a bad thing, and it just addresses the fear and exuberance precisely the same. If we're placing energy on it, we're establishing some kind of order or setting something in motion energetically. So it's crucial then to be placing positive energy on what we require, not damaging energies by resistance or concern or fear on what we don't want in our outcome. Gratitude and appreciation is so crucial, as it's a really high energy, positive vibe of thought. It's a higher frequency, as they say. It's strongly attractive. It's magnetic. And it ties us with the origins of happenings, of what is happening in the moment. And you can't use a great deal of power without having the gratitude and appreciation, as it's the gratitude and appreciation that keeps you tied into the power, right? So the creative power inside of us makes us into the mental image of that which we provide our attention. The thankful mind is perpetually fixed upon the most beneficial, and consequently it will get the most beneficial. Does that make sense? Do you understand? If we're grateful and appreciative about everything, we're centered on what we require. It's a kind of a way of making a point that we're placing the greatest possible positive energies on our wants and keeping energy from the uncertainties and fears that we don't wish for. This is the reason that almost everybody who teaches about goals takes a firm stand that you view your goal as already achieved, and that you be grateful and appreciative for it in that moment. It's a mighty way to be certain that you're placing solid energy on the goal using the gratitude and appreciation. And just a trick that I've started to experiment with, and you can go ahead and try this as well, because sometimes it's difficult to imagine things, especially if they're short term into the future. But what I imagine is telling somebody else in my mind about the results that I have already achieved, as if it was happening in that moment. Just something to experiment with. But you'd believe with gratitude so crucial, you'd think that everybody would be including it in their strategies, just from that energetic standpoint. But so far it seems that most people in reality aren't really pushing aside the success they wish without recognizing it, as they're going against that law of gratitude. It does seem like there is a trend moving in that direction, in moving towards more of the energetic or energy management side of success. So keep an eye out for that kind of information. It definitely is out there. So we're going to begin by considering the question that Einstein stated was the most crucial that each individual has to answer for themselves. Albert Einstein proposed that the answer to this was incredibly important. Is the world friendly to our wants? Or is the universe friendly to our wants? Now, it seems a bit strange that a scientist like Albert Einstein would connote that the universe may have a prejudice about whether we personally succeed or not. All the same, I believe he was requiring us to decide if the universe was configured to make it simple for us or difficult for us. Put differently, is there plenty to go around? How we resolve this question does make a huge difference. After all, if there's a fixed supply of things and lots of individuals need it, then life is hard. A lot of individuals believe this way, and we address it as a scarcity mindset or deficiency thinking. It's difficult to be grateful and appreciative when there's not enough. This notion leads to competitory thinking, the thought that in order to get what we wish, you need to take it away from somebody else. This is a belief scheme that promotes dread and concern. Most sales training is established on this kind of thinking. So are all states of war. How simple is it for anybody to be thankful when they believe that the universe is configured to make matters hard for them? Particularly when their thinking keeps producing situations where they get to be correct about how hard it is. So let me demonstrate to you how abundantly the universe truly is, both scientifically and spiritually, evidence to us that everything is made out of the same stuff, and science claims it is energy. So how much is there to make more of whatever we require? A late scientific study of the cosmos added together everything they could find, ascertaining that merely about 4% of the available energy was utilized to make the entire cosmos. there's 96% left over, or enough for 25 more universes. That appears pretty abundant to me. So let's pick another way of thinking. We may see an abundant supply instead of a scarce supply. We may choose to produce our success instead of contend for a fixed supply. Once we do this, we stop being a victim of circumstances and we start to reclaim our great power that we have over our lives. Viewing the universe this way is the beginning step in the law of gratitude and appreciation. Not resisting is among the most misinterpreted principles of success, and not exercising it keeps an awful lot of individuals out of gratitude and appreciation. Not resisting is merely accepting the mental attitude that whatever is, just is, and we don't oppose it. Many of us run through life with a lot of beliefs in our mind about how matters that are a particular way that they should be or ought to be. And don't get me wrong, I'm not discussing easy stuff. Like if the car is parked out in the street and needs to be put in the garage, then you just, you go put the car in the garage. What I'm saying is the common behavior of individuals and circumstances that we just can't do anything about. We state to ourselves or to other people that, he shouldn't have caused that to happen, or the car shouldn't have crashed in this spot, or she shouldn't have addressed me like that, or we should have got that contract. I don't know if you've ever heard yourself say or do something like this, but there are a few things to observe, as far as noticing that we're arguing with reality being the way that it is. And, if you think about how that's going to be in your mental space as far as the decisions that you'd be making towards success, it's not setting you up, to succeed. Second, observe the thoughts that go with this kind of attitude. Somebody or something has taken our junk, our revenue or success, and we're victims. This is all founded on the idea of not having enough. Now, how are you going to discover any kind of gratitude and appreciation in a batch of mental crap like that? So this is where not resisting is critical. Now, bear in mind that not resisting doesn't mean you have to be a wuss for anybody. It only implies that you don't debate with the reality of what's happening, of what is in that moment, rather than, debating and arguing with it. You apply one of the universal laws, and the law of inverses. And this law merely says that everything has an equal and opposite pole. Each situation that looks foul on one end has an extremely good point of view on the other end if you look for it. So if you're truly trying to comprehend, how this works, it will completely change your life. So consider this very carefully. Everything that occurs just is. Like two sides of a coin, it has a side that appears negative and it has a side that looks positive, and you get to pick, or whatever you call it, how you want to see it as it shows up in the moment, and that's what we call our attitude. And a couple tricks you can do. One is you simply ask your mind, or just ask the universe, please help me to see this differently. Don't even need to worry about identifying what that differently looks like. Just help me to see this situation differently. There's only one place to go, and that is wholeness, and that is dropping into your heart and living back in the place of gratitude and appreciation. So here's how you're implementing not resisting in any state of affairs. First, you remind yourself that the universe is friendly to you. There's virtually innumerable supply of everything you require. There has forever adequate of money, clients, time, love, acquaintances, and so forth, so that no state of affairs can leave you without those things for very long. You don't absolutely require that you're able to move on to the following. Next, You cue yourself that you get to choose what to call the state of affairs, great or foul. You understand the good is there, and yes, I recognize it's occasionally hard to see when you're in the middle of it, but you do understand that it is there. In my life, the sorriest experiences that I've gone through have, without exclusion, finally proved to be the biggest gifts. They were my instructors, and each one bore in it the seed of something amazingly great for me. It took me some time to discover it, and occasionally, but it was always there in the background. And I've discovered that resistance, or looking at things negatively, steps up the suffering and draws out the experience. So placing the energy on the negative experience only produces more of it. The value of not resisting is that it truly speeds up the procedure and gets you up to the greatest part of yourself quicker. So discover the great in the situation and be grateful and appreciative for it. This switches the energy to what you wish and is the second step in the law of gratitude and appreciation. Okay, we're doing pretty good learning the law of gratitude and appreciation. We've got the friendly and abundant cosmos. We don't debate with reality, and we discover the good in everything, and we're pleased and grateful right where we are. What we may potentially need to do, well, there are a few small things. The following one you may not like, and I understand. I didn't. It took me a while to comprehend this one. I hope you're able to get through it a little quicker than I did. It's only a single word. Forgive. Forgiveness for everybody who ever did anything that you've been carrying around a grievance about. The guy who screwed you in the deal, the sister-in-law who never paid off the $50, the teacher that gave you the failing grade that you didn't merit, the ex-spouse who dredged you through the atrocities and expenses of the breakup. Everybody. Anything. And here's how you're able to tell if you've truly forgiven them. Can you really wish them well? Are you thankful for them? Sorry, but the screwball pertaining to forgiveness won't do the job. You have to do this fully and wholly. Forgiveness isn't something you do for the other individual. It's something you accomplish for yourself. We know that long-run bitterness has an awful physical consequence on our bodies. It may surface as a migraine, a heart attack, or even cancer. So you really don't want to be holding on to this kind of resentment. The beginning step in becoming unhampered by debt is to release everybody from debt to us. This includes the emotional debts we call bitterness. We can't acquire what we aren't willing to give. In a cause and effect creation, each thought we plant returns to us multiplied. Bitterness is an emotional bomb that forever boomerangs back on us one way or another. For this reason, each area of your life where you cannot or will not forgive is an obstruction in the flow of your success. The sole way to unblock it is to be willing to free the individual or situation with gratitude for what they bestowed on you. Remember, the cosmos works by law, not by accident. There are no happenstances in the individuals that turn up in our lives. And as the universe is friendly, they don't appear to penalize us, but frequently teach us. We may utilize the law of opposites and understand that there's an advantage, a learning, a present, something in that experience with that individual. We may discover that gift if we look, but occasionally we have to have some distance from the event to view it distinctly. After all, whatsoever they did wasn't about us anyhow. It was regarding them. Once we get to the point that we may be really grateful for them, when we may truly wish them well, then we have to cut the chains of bitterness that tied us down and tied them to us, so that we're able to be free and march on in our lives. The final step in forgiving has to do with ourselves. There's no escaping this step, as we can't provide love or support to other people unless we may provide it to ourselves first. We need to be grateful for everything. That entails forgiving ourselves for all the alleged errors and imperfections in our lives. We have to be able to love that individual that we're looking at in the mirror with all the so-called faults. Once you look in the mirror and detest what you see, you've addiction to survive. If you don't like the chief person in your story, then everything and everybody in it gets to be a nightmare. However, if you accept yourself 100%, then you trust yourself, and whatever you wish to come into your reality, the cosmos will concur. I can tell you from my own experience that simply starting the procedure of forgiving and showing gratitude for everybody in your life and your past is an unbelievable present to yourself, and it's the fulfillment to the next step in the law of gratitude and appreciation. Everything we've discussed until now has been about our thinking. There's a rationality for that. Everything in this creation we see starts with a thought. For a long time, I played the game of attempting to alter the final results in my life without altering me or my reasoning. The only way we may arrive at any true changes is to begin with the thinking role. The error a few individuals make is they cease at that point. However, effective change forever turns up in our actions. So how does a grateful individual, one who's worked through the previous steps of the law of gratitude, behave? It's truly easy. They give. This is the final step. Successful people give revenue, time, support, encouragement, everything. As they're grateful for what they have, they give it to others. As they understand that they live an abundant, friendly, cause and effect existence, they understand that by giving, they make getting possible. If you truly wish to comprehend the might of giving, you have to view everything you have not as junk, but as evidence of a swift current river of abundance. Once you give, you're evidencing your confidence in this abundance and your appreciation for it. You're establishing room for more to show up. By giving gratefully and ceaselessly, you place yourself square in the flow of life and turn into both an inlet and an outlet for the abundant universe to go through. So, if you require income, give money. If you require time, give time. If you require books, give books. By carrying out the action of giving, you show your gratitude for what you have, and this finishes the last step in the law of gratitude and appreciation.